Stan Darling. I'm a member of the Government Affairs Council here at the Fremont Area Chamber of Commerce, along with Terry Lee, our Executive Director, and we have our 4 candidates with us today. And to give you a little idea of what's going to happen, we're going to let them introduce themselves, talk a little about themselves for a couple minutes each. We're going to go in alphabetical order, front and back, so to speak, so that they each have the same amount of time and the same chance at new questions. And then we'll have 5 questions. Hopefully we'll get through all 5 of those. And then we'll have a little summary at the end with a chance for the candidates to speak again. And then we should hit us about an hour if we've got things planned accordingly. And so with that, I'm going to have Mr. Bloom. Jim, I'm going to let you start things off and give us a couple minutes to talk a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm going to try to make this sound like I'm not reading off a piece of paper, but well, I lived in Fremont since 1995. I've been married to my wife, Melissa, for a little over 10 years, and we live in what I'd like to call Midtown over by the auditorium. My son is 26 and a Fremont High School graduate. He still lives in his childhood home here in Fremont. My stepdaughter, Lily, she's 18. She's be a 2020 graduate of Fremont High School this year, and will be attending Midland this fall. I'm a veteran of the United States Navy, was on active duty in the Persian Gulf War, spending time in the Gulf of Oman in a squadron aboard an aircraft carrier USS Ranger during Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield. I'm an active member of American Veterans Motorcycle Club Fremont chapter, where I serve as an officer. The AVMC is the biggest veterans motorcycle club in the United States. Excuse me. I'm also a member of the American Legion Post 20 here in town. I spend a lot of time doing various cancer runs, toy benefits, any other kind of benefit that we can put together. And I spend a lot of time out of my bike getting some much needed wind therapy most of the time. I come from a blue collar family. My dad's a retired postal worker. My mom is a retired school bus driver. I haven't always lived the best life, but I've always really tried to live my life, my best life. I'm basing my campaign on being an honest blue collar working class guy that the citizens of Fremont can trust, relate to, and based on my trials and tribulations and general life experiences and willingness to listen and learn, make me a good candidate.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Ellis, you are next.
Thank you very much. I want to take the opportunity to thank the Chamber for putting on this roundtable. It's a great opportunity for the citizens of Fremont. I am currently a Fremont City Council member representing Ward 2. I was voted in 2018. I'm a proud father of 5 children, 4 of which who live here in Fremont. Even a more prouder grandfather of 2 grandchildren living here in Fremont. And I'm a very lucky husband of 36 years, married to my beautiful high school sweetheart, Nancy. After spending about 20 years in corporate America, working for Sprint, H&R, First Data, UP, writing software, in 2004, I quit my corporate job and entered into the entrepreneurial world. 38 years old, 5 children, and a whole new path in front of us. I started writing a software program for schools to help them with their administrative tasks, and it started growing slowly. Once we started this journey, I had asked Nancy, where do we want to move? We have moved with our other opportunities, and she replied, let's move back to Fremont. We'd lived here in Fremont in the early 90s for a couple of years, and she wanted to come back. Starting a new company is hard, and it takes a lot of hard work and sacrifices. We struggled as a company and as a family for several years, but those lean years taught us a lot. I also relied on my faith more than any time during my life to get through those times. Eventually, the company started growing, and we now have 30 employees, with 20 of them locally. We're serving schools in 43 countries around the world. Because of the growth of the company and hiring great leaders, I've been able to redirect some of my time and efforts in helping other individuals down that entrepreneurial path. I have started from scratch and have grown several small local companies, including a technology company of which many said could not be done in rural Nebraska. I know what it takes to make hard decisions and make change. Change is hard, but I know what it takes. I've been very active in our community, both in volunteering, creating and helping nonprofit organizations. I started attending city council meetings many years ago, which led me to the decision to run for city council. I have taken my council seat extremely seriously. I do my homework, I investigate the issues, and I listen to the people of Fremont. I believe now I have what it takes to become the next mayor of Fremont, and I would appreciate your vote on May 12th. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Paden, you're next.
Hello, I'm Ike Paden, born and raised here in Fremont. I'm excited for the opportunity to run for mayor. It's something I've always wanted to do, just simply because I care about the town. Before I get too much more into myself, and I mentioned this at the beginning, Joey, congratulations on the baby girl. That's awesome, wonderful news. And Jim, thank you for your service to our country. So that's awesome. I want to make sure we get that out as well. But I am happily married, 13 years to my lovely wife. I really outkicked my coverage on that one. We ended up having 3 beautiful little girls. So I have learned to not do any voting at my house anymore. You learn that fast. I'm really just excited to take on this next opportunity. Yeah, like I said, I've been a financial planner now for 9 years. Have my CFP, CLU, CHFC. So finance is just a given with anything I do moving forward. Before that, I actually worked for the city for the Park and Rec. That was my first job out of college, and it was a lot of fun. I made a lot of great friendships. So I'm just looking to help support the town moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Joey Spellerberg, you are next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joey Spellerberg. And first, I just want to say thank you to Stan and Tara at the Chamber for hosting this. Thanks to the other candidates and for all of our care for Fremont. That's really what this is about, is it's about Fremont, and just proud to be a part of this. I have been born and raised here in Fremont. This is my home ever since I was a young kid. My dad, Mustache Joe, was a polka band leader and entrepreneur for 50 years. And we even had a little duet going when I was a little kid. We'd play around town. He played the trumpet, I played the drums. And at a young age, I really got a good glimpse of Fremont and the amazing people that we have here. And it made me so proud to be from here and be a part of this. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Ashley, for 7 years. We, like Isaac said, I just had our baby girl, third girl, yesterday at 11:34 a.m. So let's just say I'm running on a little bit of adrenaline, lack of sleep, and a hospital cheeseburger. So it's all good. It's such a blessing to bring a new child into the world, and to have 3 girls, it's going to be a fun journey. So I went to Bergen for high school. Upon graduation, went to Alabama for school, the University of Alabama, Birmingham. Graduated from there with a marketing and sales degree. And then about 7 years ago, my wife and I, we came back up to take over our family business, Mustache Joe Tours. It's been in our family for over 40 years. And during that time, we have grown it from a home-based business to a location in Fremont, and we have 10 employees. We have over 30 contractors, and so, but like a lot of folks right now, the pandemic has taken a toll on our business, and so we're going to get through this together. But we're kind of doing the best we can with what we have, and we can't wait to travel again. So, again, I'm running for mayor because I truly love this town. Again, this is my home. I want my daughters to come back to a better town than what I had. And so I feel like with my involvement in Fremont, with the Fremont Area Leadership Prayer Breakfast, which many of you saw last Friday on Good Friday, as well as a graduate of Leadership Fremont here, been invested in here for a long time. And what's great is when I came back to Fremont, from Alabama, I really had a new appreciation for how giving our community is, just how blessed we are here. And I wanted to raise my family here. And so that's really what my run is about, is Fremont is the best place to live, work, and raise a family. And so we have a bright future. And thanks for this opportunity to talk with you guys today.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you all. We're going to get right into questions. And Joey, you are going to be the first one on this one. We're going to go backwards now. Tell me, what is your first priority as mayor if you are elected?
Number one priority for me is communication and collaboration. For the past 2 months, I've been reaching out to stakeholders, city employees, citizens of this community, and just listening. And I have a mission statement for my campaign, and is to listen intently, commit to the greater good, and lead our community into the future. And so my first priority is to come in with an open mind. I think that's what leadership is. You see both sides, and you hear everybody out, and you listen intently. And so that is my first objective, is to listen intently, and then commit to the greater good. The people of Fremont, they want their leader to be decisive, to make clear decisions, and that is what I will bring. That's what I do in my business every day. And that's what the people deserve to have, is somebody that makes clear, decisive decisions, but listens to both sides. And then to really lead our community into the future, to have a vision for Fremont. And I know with my background being from here, I know the people of Fremont, and growing up here, and how we can lead our community into the future. Like I said, we have a bright future. And my vision for Fremont is to bring us together, to communicate and collaborate. And so that's what the mayor's role is, to bring that positive energy to Fremont, and really highlight what's amazing going on here. We have so much amazing things here in Fremont. So that would be my first priority, Stan.
Very good. Isaac, Mr. Paden, you are next.
Yeah, I would say the most important project for me right now is to get communication back on the council. Working with all the different city councilmen, I've already talked with everyone on the council, but I think we need to get everyone on the same page first and start moving forward. I think it's difficult. There are a lot of different situations right now facing Fremont with the COVID-19, with everything going on. But I think the biggest thing is right now there's a lot of mistrust on the council. And I think what I can bring back to the council is that honesty and that listening ear to figure out problems and move forward. I can leave my ego at the door and come in and just try to find a solution. Case in point, and this is kind of silly, but just yesterday, my daughters left the guinea pigs down on the floor and it crawled under the bed. This is a true story. And so I wanted to take a big stick and just kind of shush it out of there. But my daughters wanted to use a carrot and let the guinea pig come out on her own. And so I'm like, okay, let's do the carrot idea. So sure enough, she gets the carrot, the guinea pig comes right out, we pick her up, put her right back in the cage. And again, I don't need to be right. I don't think I have all the answers. I just need to recognize the right answers when I hear them. And that's where communication and listening are so important. With my job, I meet with people every day and I listen to what they have to say and I build a financial plan for them. If I just come with them with my own financial plan and you should do this, if it doesn't fit what they're looking for, it is not a good financial plan. So I would bring that same thing with the council right now, listen to all the sides and come up with the best solutions. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, very good. Mr. Ellis, you are next.
Thank you. The first priority, I think, is because of my experience in the council already, got almost a year and a half, I already understand a lot of the issues that we're facing as a council, as a leader. First and foremost, transparency. We've got, as many of the other candidates have said, we've got a trust issue right now, a trust between the citizens and our leadership, a trust between the council and our leadership. And so we've really got to address that. As we all know, trust is easily broken and hard to repair. So there's a long road ahead of us in getting that trust built back up. They mentioned communication. It's on our municipal code that communication is mandated between the city administrator and the mayor. Anytime there's communication, should also come to the council, and that hasn't happened. I tell you from experience that would relieve a lot of our mistrust, as if we were to be involved in some of that communication. We're not. As a new city councilman, I was involved in bringing online video conference or online video, so everyone now within the city can now watch the video streaming live of the city council meetings. That was most important to me as a council member, is to try to bring more and more people into the process. I was the only council member to offer counsel with a coffee man. I opened myself up and make myself available to listen to the people. And, you know, overall it's been a success. But I think as a city official, you need to make yourself available to listen to the community, find out what their needs are, and then bring them back into the council and use the council as an area where we can come up with solutions, we can compromise. And right now, compromise is not happening in the council. There's parties going back and forth where I've even seen our city attorney attempt to bring compromise to the table, and it was rejected. It's kind of sad, but it's happened. So first and foremost, I think we need to build trust. We need to make sure that, and again, trust is something that just doesn't happen overnight. So there's going to have to be some outward efforts in place and put in place to show that people can trust their city leaders, they can trust the government. Because first and foremost, my vision for Fremont is to be a well-oiled machine, a city council that runs extremely efficient. We are so far away from that right now, but I've looked at other city councils, I've studied other mayors, I've studied other city councils, and it is possible, but we've got a lot of work ahead of us to get done. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Jim, you are next.
Well, I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction and say my biggest concern is the safety of our citizens. I think with the town growing and the development, our response times for our fire and rescue and our police department are getting bigger, and they need more resources to help keep our citizens safe. I've talked to some of the firemen and some of the police officers, and some of the equipment they use is they've had for a while, and we need to get some updates in there, get some more officers in there, and make it a little bit easier for us to keep our citizens safe. Thank you.
Okay. So our next question, we're going to come right back to you, Jim. That question is, what are your thoughts about tax increment financing as a tool for existing businesses and as an option for attracting new business?
Well, I think the TIF and the LB 840, I think it's all set up to vet out the people who deserve to get it. They go through a process. They fill out all the paperwork. The council and the mayor, they decide, you know, if you're a right fit for this town. If you aren't a right fit, maybe there's some things you need to do to make your company a right fit. But I think everybody deserves a chance to fill out that paperwork. Maybe you're just not a right fit, but the process that we have in place, I think is doing itself justice.
Mr. Ellis, Glenn, you are next for that same question about tax increment financing.
Thank you. I tell you what, tax incremental financing was established in the 50s back in California, and it had some good possibilities. It's got great intentions, but I believe in the past it's been abused. You know, I am all for tax incremental financing. If, let's say, the 505 wanted TIF, I would be all in for that, because that is truly a blighted and substandard area. It needs help. But when cities start blighting and substandard cornfields and fields simply to make it an attractive issue to bring in corporations, I think we've overstepped the boundary there. I do believe that, you know, I'm a strong proponent of growth, but I think we have to do it smartly. We can't do it at the extent of putting our school districts, our private or our public safety in harm. And so anytime that we bring an organization or a company to town and we give them TIF, we're essentially stating that the company coming into town is more important than our children's education. It's more important than providing security with our police officers or our firemen. And so that's where I truly believe that we as a city need to look at this a lot better, maybe reel it in a little bit. I am all for you know, growth, but I really believe it needs to be smart growth. We need to figure out how we can continue to have the income streams coming in for our schools, We're not getting any relief from the state right now. And so our schools get most of its money from or majority of our property tax goes to our schools. And so the more we can get filtered to that direction, the less it's going to be a burden on the citizens. And so when a corporation comes in and it's getting TIF, it's essentially putting the level of all the other citizens higher that we have to cover that money. Now, a lot of people say that it's long-term and you got to think long-term. But right now, I think the city of Fremont is tipped itself out. And I think we as a city need to now concentrate on our local citizens. We need to concentrate on our local infrastructure, and we need to concentrate on our schools and our public service, our policemen and our firemen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Isaac, same question about tax increment financing.
Yep, thanks, Dan. So TIF is really interesting because on paper, it sounds like a really good idea. So basically, big companies, you have to get surveys and get stuff blighted. So it's really only lends itself toward bigger companies. But you get tax breaks on any improvements they make. So the argument is, well, if there's no improvements there anyway, no buildings, no anything, we're not getting any tax money from that anyway. So they get basically a huge tax break for 10 or 15 years and they get that money back. So on paper, it makes it sound like it's a good idea. However, I think it is a little bit tiffed yourself to death. I thought was a good expression, Glenn. I'm not a big fan of government taking tax dollars and deciding which businesses can win and which businesses lose. There are processes in place, but it really doesn't help the small person just looking, it doesn't help the organic growth of our community. If you're just looking to start your own business in a little shop, you're not going to get any TIF funds. There are other funds available for you. So in my perfect world, there would be less government handouts where, for instance, I know it's kind of changing the topic, but LB8 $40 were given to a business that was 2 doors down from mine. They took about $250,000 and were gone. And so business is hard enough just when you're starting out to get it to grow and to get it to work, let alone if someone's just going to take the money and run. And so that's why I think cities can really burn themselves with this sort of thing. I was talking to a lady who thought the TIF funds, they'd get their 15 years of benefit and take off. I don't think that's going to happen with our businesses. Hopefully not, but they're really good community partners on that end of things. But I would rather see the advantages on the other side, getting rid of as much red tape as possible so that we can fix up buildings around town. So if you want to start your business, it's easier to do. So I want the rungs of the economic ladder to be real close together, to go from starting a brand new business, or to go from 1 employee to 2, or to go from 100 employees to 150. I want it to be easy to improve. And I think that's the goal that Fremont should have.
Okay, very good. Joey, you are next.
Sure. In a perfect world, we would have no business incentives. We would not have these things in place, but that's just not the environment that we are in. And for me, I want to make sure that people of Fremont have access to the best possible jobs, and people come to areas for jobs. So when it comes to TIF and LB840, these are tools that you can use in your toolbox. They should be used responsibly. But I kind of see it as, would Nebraska come out with 9 players and not 11 players? No, they come out with 11 players. That creates the level playing field. We have lost opportunities in Fremont over the years because we did try to take advantage of these things in a responsible way. My family, my mom and dad, both come from farming backgrounds. Agriculture is a big thing in my family, and Fremont has been an ag economy for many years, as long as I've been here. And so we have many strengths in that sector, and then you could probably say that about Nebraska in general, that we are an ag-based economy. We can really support what has come here to Fremont already with ancillary businesses around those to really play to our strengths and continue to offer the people of Fremont the best possible opportunities, and in turn welcome new residents to Fremont with those opportunities as well. So I don't think we need to be responsible, absolutely be responsible with these, but I want to play with 11 players on the playing field. I want to have a full deck of cards, as you would say. So, and I don't want these opportunities to go to neighboring cities. I want them to be right here in Fremont. So we need to look at that as well, because that will lift everybody up. So thank you.
Next question, and I'm going to go right back to you, Joey. As you know, many people are concerned about the length of city council meetings. Can you share your thoughts on how that can be addressed and what you'd like to see done in the future?
Yeah, this was kind of mentioned before. We do have a trust issue on city council. And I think this kind of goes to that. For me, what I would do, let's all get together and talk. I mean, we all need to work through this together. And so that's how I would approach it. I know there's been a proposed ordinance change, and for the most part, I've been for that change. I think something has to give with what's going on. When you look at neighboring cities, comparatively to ours, you're averaging 50-minute council meetings. Ours is 3 hours and 20 minutes. So something is going on there. I'm not against long meetings. Whatever it takes to get the job done, that's what we need to do. And I don't think the intention of the ordinance change is a freedom of speech. I don't see that. We can still say whatever we want to say on council. It's just trying to make the meetings more efficient for everyone involved. I was sitting next to a gentleman in one meeting that I was attending that, it got to be late and we adjourned early, and his item on the agenda did not come up yet. And so it was 11:30 at night. He sat there for 4.5 hours and didn't get his point across. And so I feel like the citizens, we need to work the meetings for the citizens of Fremont. And so whatever we can do to help that, I'm for.
Okay, very good. Isaac, same question.
Yeah, so the length of the meetings needs to be addressed. So I just want to say thank you for the courage for Councilman Jensen and Lakeland and McLean for putting something out there. It's easy to rip solutions apart when it's the first one out there. They're just trying to address a problem. And so I appreciate what they're trying to do. With that being said, I'm not a big fan of the 5 minutes limits, the 2 minutes. The problem with it is it really treats the symptom and not the root cause. The root cause is more, the other cities around us and that are our size have about 15 to 10 agenda items. We have like 32 tonight, and we've had 40, I think, in February. So our agendas are huge because our council is trying to do everything. So part of the solution might be to give the library board some power and to bring back some subcommittees, because a lot of times these issues are coming up and it's the first time the councilmen have heard about it. So yeah, they're going to have questions because they're going to do their job and they're going to try to dig in to see what's happening. So I commend them for that. But maybe a better solution would be have subcommittees to look at things first. Maybe give some power back to the Public Works Board so they can work out the issues, and then bring it to the council ready to go. And some members of the council can sit on those boards or committees and bring that to the council, say, hey, here's what we found. I think that's really the true answer to the problem versus trying to limit 5 minutes or talk about an item for 10 minutes and then bring up the public. But yeah, so we can't have citizens showing up to a meeting and then have their agenda item not heard. There's a lot of issues that brings. We talk about transparency, but if we're passing ordinances at 1 o'clock in the morning, that's also not very transparent. So I appreciate their efforts of bringing something forward. My brother always says, ping it back. So the first idea, you get it out there and then ping it back. Ooh, we like this. We don't like that. Let's tweak this. And you kind of massage it until everyone gets to a spot where, yeah, that's the package we want. So yeah, I appreciate those guys for getting it out there. Now we can ping it back, find the right solution.
Okay, very good. Glenn?
Well, thank you. I'm being the only one on the city council meeting. I am not opposed to the long meetings. I know the ordinance 5530, I am definitely against. I don't believe this is the right solution. I think optically it looks really bad for Fremont again. I think, and I'm a little disappointed that there wasn't discussion brought amongst all city council members before this was brought forward. We didn't get notified of it, and before it showed up on an agenda on Friday morning or Friday afternoon. So you're right, communication is everything. I've done a lot of research on this, and there's no comparing us to another city because the structure of cities are different. In the past couple of years, our structure of city has changed a lot, like Isaac said. that some of the decisions have been taken away from these committees and given to council. I think we need to look at breaking that structure back where a lot of these decisions can be pushed back over to those smaller committees. During my research, again, I talked with another mayor from another local community. He didn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. He said this was not the way to solve this issue. He said what we need is we need subcommittees. We need the ability to, if you can use the term making sausage, take it and put it in a committee where there can be still open public comment. There can be people there, but that's where you can take one item and you can compromise, you can hammer out the issues, you can make the sausage there with 4 city councilmen in that committee, and then simply be able to polish the product and bring it to the full council, knowing full well that everyone trusts that that everything was done properly and that we can vote on that and it will be a fairly simple resolution to get passed. But to simply come up with an ordinance and want to get it done in one meeting by simply overriding the second and third vote is not the proper way. We have to, as a city, have to be concerned about how we appear from the outside. We don't want to be showing people that, you know, we've got issues. We definitely have got issues in our city council. We need to come together as leaders and to come to better solutions. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jim, you are next.
Well, I'd have to say that for the most part, I was for this. I think there might be a better way to do it. I think people are getting caught up in the words time limit and freedom of speech. This isn't about freedom of speech. This is about there being boundaries. During the council meeting, you know, I think we might be able to do some things to dial back the agenda a little bit instead of having the council members talk after the staff report and after the public comment. Maybe have the staff report, then public comment, then have the council debate on everything. That'll cut out a half hour. So I think that there's too much finger pointing going on sometimes, and you know, there just needs to be a reasonable amount of time to talk, and the council just needs to respect that we need to get to everybody and nobody should be left out. You know, like Joey said, there was a guy there the other day, he's the last one we were at physically. He sat there for 3 hours and his agenda item was next and they called it at 11:30 and he was not very happy. So I think that we just need to come to a happy medium. I appreciate what Mark and Linda and Mark have, you know, put into this, and you know, I'm behind them. Maybe we can just find a different way to make this easier without passing an ordinance. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, very good. New question. So I'm going to go back to you, Jim. As more and more businesses begin to call Fremont home, what changes do you think need to be made to our existing infrastructure, whether it be transportation or any other type of infrastructure?
That's a tough one. Like I go back again to safety. I think the safety of our citizens. If we keep, the more we keep adding stuff, the more that our citizens need to be kept safe. I think our roads need to be well maintained. Not just the main roads. There's a lot of side roads that need help. I'm not going to act like I know the ins and outs of this and that I'm going to just feed you a line. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay, that's fine. Glenn?
Well, thank you. I want to address the Joey example. I talked with that citizen. He did stay there for the full 3 hours, 3.5 hours. But he is against this ordinance. He does not feel like the time limit is the issue. He knows that there's other issues. Now, coming back to this one, businesses, what we can do. The city of Fremont is at a junction right now where I believe we need to spend our surplus funds that we have on maintenance of our existing infrastructure. Instead of trying to build new and to continue to build stuff that we're going to have to maintain, I think it's time for us as a city to start focusing on our city, on our neighborhoods, start focusing on our infrastructure, and start maintaining what we have and maintaining it in a great way. And that also means our police and fire. We're going to have to, with more and more people coming to Fremont, we really need to look at our police and fire department. Our police, I've talked with Chief Elliott. There is always an issue of trying to hire more people or hire more police officers to our academy. I think that the one issue is pay. We need to definitely look at our pay of what we offer and how we compare to other communities. I think that's always been a hindrance to us as far as keeping quality officers. The fire department, I think, is the same way, but I think our fire department is probably being stretched a little too much to the east of our town. When you're talking about response times in the 6 minutes to get to Deerfield, I think it's time that our citizens start looking at, or the city of Fremont start looking at, what's it going to take to maybe add a secondary fire station. Columbus has just gone through this process. Columbus citizens just passed a bond issue for $16 million to build a new police station, a new fire station, and renovate an old fire station. And so I think that's what we as citizens of Fremont need to be looking at, is figuring out how we can maintain and keep what we already have in the best possible shape. In doing so, that's going to build trust, and that's going to build confidence in our citizens. And so being able to, come and pave a road that's never been paved in 20 years is essentially going to start building confidence up in that neighborhood, to the point where maybe homeowners or renters would start putting money into their property. So got off on a tangent there, but I believe that maintenance is probably the best dollars we can be spending. Thank you.
Okay, Isaac?
Yeah, I'm just going to follow that right up from Glenn. I think one of the big things we need to do is improve a lot of our buildings. Most of those buildings have been in the same place since I've been alive here. So I talked with Chief Elliott and Chief Byrne on the fire department, and they gave me a tour of their buildings and just showing that they're old, they're run down, they're not really what they're supposed to be. But once you look at that across all of city's buildings, even the airport, the street department's going to hopefully get a new building here at some point. So there's a lot of big expenses coming up for our town as we continue to grow. So the biggest thing, one of my ideas I came up with was we basically add another bucket of money. Like, each department has their bucket of money that we budget for each year, adding an additional bucket that can be for capital improvements. Now, currently the emergency fund right now that we have is at about 20 million. And the city does have a really nice emergency fund. So kudos to the council members of the past, because we have a nice cushion right now as far as the city of Fremont goes. And we should use that to help do capital improvements. But what I like to do is have another bucket there as well that can rotate between the departments each year and maybe get that next building we need, or maybe get that next fire truck. But using that as a way to go to funds, I don't want to have to do bond issues, but that's an okay plan too. But if we can just fund it as we go, I think that's going to be our best bet. So yeah, after talking with all the different department heads of buildings that could be improved, personnel needs, I think that's going to be where we need to spend the majority of our money moving forward.
Okay, Joey?
Yeah, so it's funny. I've been doing a little door-to-door way before this pandemic started, and was just walking the streets of Fremont, and I was just saying, my goodness, we have some problems here that we can fix. And so I think that it's starting with our current infrastructure. I think investing into infrastructure is a good way all around. It helps our citizens, it helps our economic development, and it really brings our community together. It shows that we care about them and their situations. So I as well took a tour of the police department with Chief Elliott, and I was shocked. I was shocked. I couldn't believe they need an upgrade. And the same thing with some of our other infrastructure as well. So in my opinion, I feel like Fremont should have the best. I don't know why we would have to settle. And so for my leadership, I will work and do whatever I can to give the citizens of Fremont the best that we can. I mean, that's not going to be everything, but it's going to be us listening to their needs and addressing those, and looking at how we grow and what we need as we grow, but also our current infrastructure. So there's many things that we need to look at. But number one, it's just a commitment. It's a commitment to the people of Fremont and our infrastructure.
I'm gonna throw a follow-up in here about, you mentioned, a few of you have mentioned the police department. And so before us right now, we're looking at a new police department building. We're looking at out at the airport. We're looking at a new badly needed terminal. So how do you feel about those two projects? They're the two that I can think of right off the top of my head that are probably most talked about.
Yeah. During the floods, this was last March, one of our tours actually got caught in Omaha and couldn't get back into Fremont. And so I had, 8 to 10 folks sitting in Omaha. And there was a private aviation group that was offering them to fly them in to Fremont Airport. And so, I personally had never been out there before. And so I remember driving my van out there and going to get them. And I was just amazed at the amount of traffic. And we all remember hearing all that. And so it really forced me to look at that infrastructure. And I went into the terminal building. And I can tell you, I was shocked. I thought, this is a terminal building? I mean, for Fremont, we can do better than this. And so for me, I think that airport is critical infrastructure for community and growth. And I think that investing into that is a good idea. We've been working on with the FAA, I think, for a few years to get money from them. And so that's really tough to get money from the FAA. And so I definitely don't want to go backwards with that. And we're so close to West Omaha as well that the Fremont Airport really can be competitive with Eppley and offer a really unique situation for businesses and people to fly in and use our airport. So number one, I think that's a good thing to upgrade that building and area of our airport. Like I said, with the police department, I went through there. I think the Joint Law Enforcement Center is exactly what we're trying to do. Work together in Fremont. We're trying to, combine services, make us more efficient. And so I think that's a great idea, getting that off the ground. So I feel like we're on track with both of those things at the moment.
Okay, very good. Isaac?
Yeah, so actually the FAA gives a bunch of money out every year to airports, and it's a question of if you want to use it or not. I was talking to Mr. Godekin on the airport. I actually went to a few of the airport meetings before they went to their Zoom meetings to see the place and see what they were talking about. So about 600,000 of that is what they're going to use to do a new apron. That's basically where all the planes get to hang out until you head out onto the runway. So they use those dollars for that, so that they could be free to build a terminal without very much federal regulation also. We can build it how we want. So I do think the airport is important for our community and just another building that we need to improve. And this year would be a good year to do it because we get those funds this year. We can use it and take advantage of that. So it is a substantial project. It's about 2.3 million, 2.1 million to spend. And we're planning on using that from our current emergency fund budget, which has 20 million in it. So it's about 10% of our reserve funds going toward that capital expenditure. So it should be able to get a brand new place, make it look nice, and give Fremont the airport it deserves. Now, by the same token, if the airport's going to get all this year, they're a monopoly. You're not just going to start your own airport next door. So I think this is also the year we maybe need to look at it and make sure that is self-sustaining or even maybe a little bit profitable for the community. Now's the time to dig into the books. How do we compare with other airports? And then when they're getting this big bunch, let's make sure we do it right from the start and then move on from there. Thanks.
Okay, very good. Glenn?
All right, we'll take the airport terminal first. I've done a lot of research on this. There are two projects out there. The apron, like Isaac said, we're going to get some funds. The FAA will actually help us fund that, 90% of the project. But the FAA will not help fund the terminal. And that's where I have an issue. I agree. The terminal, it right now is old. It needs updating. I believe, a couple $100,000 can renovate that terminal and make it look good. I'm just having a real hard time. Believe me, my father worked for the FAA. I'm an aviation, I love planes, but I have a hard time having the money coming out of the general fund to pay for an airport terminal that only a very few people will use. Yeah, I know we used a lot of it at the flood last year, but again, it worked fine as it is now. Most terminals are self-sufficient. Most terminals, the FAA actually demands that you are self-sufficient and that you don't use money from the citizens. Norfolk is looking to do the same thing, but they're going to go to the citizens to ask for funds. They're actually looking at other funds as well, but theirs isn't costing $2.3 million. I think this is just way over budget. I think we ought to stop and look for other ways of funding this, to try to figure out if there's some corporate donations that can become, because majority of the planes out there are either going to be private planes or corporate planes. And so there is no commercial service available. So I really believe we could use that $2.3 million in other places in the city that can benefit a lot more people. As far as the Joint Law Enforcement Center, I think we all agree the police needs a new place. They've been working on this problem since 2014. And frankly, I was a little astonished that this bond or this election, we weren't going to have a bond issue on, or at least the asking of the citizens. We were told as council that we were going to not move forward on any of this police project until it had been before the citizens. And so when the May ballot came out and there wasn't anything on it, and now we as a council are asked to spend $435,000 for architect plans, so that in November we can put it on the ballot for citizens approval. It seems like we're spending a lot of money ahead of the horse right now. We're ahead of the cart. So we've got to sit here and try to figure out, why did we miss the May deadline? Why isn't it on this ballot today? And then we can start spending the money in November. So thank you very much.
Okay, Jim?
Well, I think the airport terminal is pretty run down. I was an iron worker here in town for about 15 years, and we did a lot of work out there, and it needs a lot of help. I'm not sure it needs $2 million worth of help, but it needs to be updated to where the people who have stuff out there and the people who go in and out of there and bring stuff in have a nice place to go, get laid over. They have a place to take care of business while they're there. As far as the law enforcement thing goes, like I've been saying, the safety of our citizens is number one. We build a new law enforcement, the joint center. You know, we can still use the old infrastructures as substations. That's going to give us more space for new cruisers, new equipment, holding cells, whatever we want to do with it. The police force, the sheriff's department, they'll be able to handle it, and they won't have to put everybody in one spot. We can have people on one side of town, people on the other side of town, and the response times will be cut in half. So that's all I got to say.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's go right back to you, Jim. I've got another question here on, as far as the chamber's view, our membership views, what would you like the 600 plus members to know about you and how you will support them?
Well, I hadn't really thought about that. I guess I'll just go with, I'm your working class, blue collar candidate running for mayor. Although I plan to be the voice of every citizen, my tagline has been a working class vote. I received an email a few days ago asking me to define working class. My response was, I am the working class vote. Working class to me is all the people that wake up every day, go to work for somebody else, the people that live paycheck to paycheck, staggering their bills so they're not broke all month, and the people that put their blood, sweat, and tears into a job with sometimes little to no credit. When I moved here 26 years ago, Fremont was not a blue collar town. Today, Fremont is 100% a blue collar working class town. And I'm just going to be a voice, an ear. I'm going to be the inside person for people to talk to that understands where you've been, where you're coming from, and where you've been.
Okay, very good, very good. Glenn?
Out of that 600 members, I'm assuming the majority of those are going to be small businesses. I know we have a lot of corporations here in town, but those corporations, A lot of those were self-starters in the beginning. They've grown to be large companies. So what I wanted to tell the small business owner or the business owner in Fremont is, I've grown businesses. I know what it takes. And what it takes is to make our city attractive so that we can attract people from Omaha and Lincoln that says, you know what, I want to come work for a company in Fremont and I want to live here. I just don't want to commute here. I want to live here. And so what that's going to take is for us to start spending our money in our infrastructure and making our city as attractive as we can so that people want to live here. I know myself trying to attract individuals to come work for my small software company. I've got to go out of my way to convince them to consider Fremont to be a place to live. There's so much more to do in the large towns. So what you're looking for is, we're never going to be an Omaha and we're never going to be a Lincoln, but we can sure be a small version of that. We can sure take pride in our town. We can sure make it as attractive as we can so that your 600 members that are running businesses, that are taking the risk, that are putting their lives on the line to continue that business, whether it's a business they started or were given, that they know that the city is behind them, and they know that their city is willing to spend the extra dollars to make sure that this city is going to be an attractive place and will actually bring in those more small companies and more small businesses into our town. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go just jump in. If that's all right, Dan.
I'm sorry. Well, I was muted there. We missed my. Go ahead.
Whoever's running this audio equipment isn't very good at her job. You're up,
Jump
Isaac.
right in there.
No problem. Yeah, I think for the chamber, that's a great question for you guys to ask. And I think that's kind of what our whole community is doing right now, which is so awesome, is right now a lot of those small businesses, people are going and getting gift cards or signing up for memberships or still utilizing the takeout. You know, I can't make it too long without getting something from Gringos. But there's just so many avenues like that the community has come together and is taking care of those businesses, either just on their own personal level, because you live in town and you want to support local. But also on the other side of that, on the government side, getting rid of as much red tape as possible. There's no reason USA Steak Buffet should still be vacant out there. That should be a great spot. So I want to make it as easy as possible. Again, I said this before, so I hate to repeat myself, but the rungs of the economic ladder just to be as close together as possible. So someone can go from no business to starting a brand new one, and whether that's just knowing what grants are available out there, so that government can be, instead of government being an obstacle to get where you want to go, it's a resource. So we can help people get the funding they need. We can help them find ways around building codes and making sure it's still done correctly, but maybe just not all the hoops you have to jump through. So that'd be my biggest thing for businesses.
Okay, very good. Joey?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had the unique opportunity to serve on the chamber board for a few years and be a part of this great organization that really gives back to Fremont and the businesses here. And I've been a graduate of Leadership Fremont through the chamber, which was a tremendous opportunity for me to go. This is 4 or 5 years ago. I got to go see all aspects of Fremont. I was from here, but I went into the power plant. We did some Dale Carnegie training, and that's all that the chamber benefits its members. And so the 600 members of the chamber, this is the core of the small business of Fremont. You guys are the true heroes, getting up every day, going to work. Some right now, because of the pandemic, are not, going through things right now that they've never gone through before. And so just like we saw, with the flooding and with this pandemic right now, the people of Fremont are resilient people, and we will make it through anything. And we are much better together than we are apart. And I think that when we come together as a community like we do, there's nothing we can't accomplish in our town. And a lot of that is the small business owners. I've been one. And so I do know what it takes in the hard work and the 80-hour weeks and the commitment and the integrity and the service that you give. And so that's really the core of Fremont. So I think what the chamber does to support that is exactly what we need to be doing moving forward.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you for going through all those questions. I appreciate it very much. We're going to give you all a chance to say a few words here to wrap things up. So Joey, I'm going to go right back to you.
Yeah. Again, thanks again for the opportunity. Glenn, Isaac, Jim, it's been a pleasure to be here with you. Like I said at the beginning, Fremont, this is my home. This is where I was born and raised, and I really have a true passion and heart for Fremont. And when I got the call from my dad to take over the family business here, when I came back, the perspective that I gained of the people here and the hardworking people and the giving community. There's a church on every corner. There's nonprofits. You see us as Fremont being such a unique town, and such a town that I am so proud to call home. And I really believe that we are the best place to live, work, and raise a family right here in Fremont. And those positive things that I've talked about today is what my campaign is about. It's about with our children, grandchildren coming back to a Fremont, and then it's better than one that we had growing up. But in the end, this is not about me, Joey Spellerberg. This is about you. This is about each and every one of you. This is about the small business owner. This is about the single mom. This is about the teacher. This is about the police officer, fire department. All of you, you guys are the true heroes of Fremont. And you are what make this town so special. And so as your mayor, I will represent you with that spirit and that integrity and service. And so I ask for your vote on May 12th or in early voting. So thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Isaac.
Yeah, thanks again to the chamber for putting this on. Thank you, Stan, for moderating. I really appreciate it. Thanks to the other candidates here. I think Fremont's in a good spot because they've got 4 people that care about our town. So that's wonderful. I believe I am uniquely suited for this position. I care about the town, always have, and I'm very okay with putting my ego at the door so that we can solve problems. I actually had the fortune of meeting a lady who is right on the end of a busy street. And my definition of busy street is if it has lines painted in it, then it's a pretty busy street here in Fremont. But it comes right up to her house, right up to her driveway. So I was talking to her about it, and she just feels unsafe. She has numerous people pull up in her driveway. She's had a couple bad accidents there. And so I felt for her. So one of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna get a stop sign put in for her right on that corner to help protect her a little bit. Because again, it's listening to the citizens. We've all been up here listening to the candidates talk about bringing in business and growing our town, which is great, and we should, but we can't forget about the citizens. So we've all put up yard signs, but that stop sign is the one I'm most proud of. So thank you for your time. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Glenn.
Well, thank you. I just want to bring up my strengths finders. I think a lot of people know what that is. I truly believe in the strength finders. Restorative is my very first strength, and that is finding issues and dealing with them. And so I think that's what's going to bring what I can bring the best to the table to help Fremont become the better. One, I want to thank the chamber for doing this and all the rest of the guys here. I really appreciate the opportunity to stand shoulder to shoulder with you virtually. But this is a great opportunity for Fremont. 16 years ago, we decided to move to Fremont and make it our home. We love the look and feel of the town, and I believe a lot of people live here because of that. As a mayor, I want to continue that, and I also want to enhance that image of Fremont. I believe that Fremont is a great city, and I also believe our best days are ahead of us. It's going to take a lot of tough conversations like we had today and a lot of hard work, but I believe the people of Fremont want this. I want to embrace our past, and we can't ignore it, and I want to embrace the current workforce that we have. But I want to look forward to the future of our diverse future workforce, and I believe technology can be a big part of that. If any city is going to survive, it needs to have some sort of a diverse workforce in it, and I really believe that that's one piece that's missing here in Fremont. We as a community need to think outside the box. I know that's sometimes hard. I know that it doesn't come natural for a lot of people. We need to dream about what tomorrow can be. A lot of what Dean Jacobs, our local hero here in town, always is telling the 4th graders to think outside the box and to dream of big dreams. We need to do that as citizens of Fremont. And then we need to act. We need to do not big acts. We don't have to do major issues or acts. We can simply do small incremental acts. A lot of small acts will add up in time, and before we know it, we've made substantial change. I'm a true believer in incremental change. One little change at a time, sometimes as simple as helping a neighbor with a flower garden, can start a chain reaction in a neighborhood. I believe this is where we begin. Start focusing on our existing neighbors. Our neighbors are us as citizens. What I'm asking you today is to believe that we, the citizens of Fremont, do have a say in where our city is going and what our future looks like. And it all starts with one act, an act of voting on May 12th. So I'd appreciate your consideration and your vote in helping me make Fremont become the best city it can be. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Jim?
Well, I just want to say thanks to Stan and Tara and everybody that's viewing this, everybody that's sitting in their cars eating their takeout Tuesday lunches during their lunch hour. I'm not a politician. I'm sure there's a lot of people that agree, a lot of people that disagree with things I have to say, but that's why we debate, that's why we discuss, and that's why we vote. I don't have all the answers. I don't claim to be the person to save Fremont. I do, however, claim to be the mayor that will listen to the people with open and honest ears. I'll be the mayor that is transparent and tells you how it is, whether you like it or not. I, for one, can respect that. I'd rather have you be honest with me than be vague, give me half stories or false truths. So I'd appreciate your vote on May 12th in the primary. My email address is jimbloomformayor@gmail.com.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, all you gentlemen, for being part of this conversation today. A couple of things that I want to mention before we leave. There have been some questions that have come in on the group chat. We're going to make those available to all the candidates. Obviously, in an hour, we can't touch on all of them, but we're trying anyway. And also, this whole hour is being recorded, so you'll be able to go on Facebook and review the whole hour if you just got in on the last part or want to look at this again. So thank you again, gentlemen. Thank you, Tara. And hope you all have a good day and get out there and vote.